Today's show is brought to you by Bogart Extractors, an industry leader in hydrocarbon extraction. Over the last decade, Bogart has implemented many new technologies which have helped to revolutionize the way hydrocarbon extractions are performed. Each unit is made with sanitary stainless steel and is built and tested right here in the USA. Their certified system for use in licensed facility meet all NFPA and ASME standards and undergo peer reviewed by third-party engineers to ensure facilities and its employees can operate safely. Beyond simply making a functional extractor, Bogart has many additional features which make extraction faster and more cost-effective compared to other manufacturers. These features include hydrocarbon failing films to supercharge evaporation rates, heavy-duty explosion-proof pumps for flammable liquids and vapors, industrial chillers capable of maintaining large tanks of solvent at temperatures below 60 Celsius. They also offer extensive tech support and consultation services. So whether you need to set up an extraction lab from scratch or you just need some replacement gaskets, give them a call at 855-553-3887 or check out their website at www.bogart.com.
So that would be my response to that. I think there will be seed stage companies come along, but it's A, for operators at the pace of opening state markets, and B, technology, it's dependent on more than just legalization.
5 or 6 years ago, everything was a seed stage company.
Yeah, amen to that. Verano wasn't even a thing 5 to 6 years ago. Now it's the third, fourth biggest footprint in the US. It's pretty incredible how these companies have come onto the scene with a fiery passion.
From the PodConx studios, high in the Rockies at the beautiful Beaver Creek Resort, it's the Raising Cannabis Capital Show.
Today on MJ Bulls, we are joined by Elliot Lane, the corporate partner director at Benzinga. Elliot, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Dan. Appreciate it.
Very, very excited. There's so many things that we can talk about today. I thought we'd maybe start at high level, 50,000 feet, and sort of work our way down. Benzinga is just a huge financial media outlet. Most top traders, Wall Street traders, rely on the information for all the different markets and all the different industries and all the different sectors. With all those opportunities, why has Benzinga focused so much attention on cannabis?
So as you mentioned, we cover every market out there and we cover it for the individual investor. But in terms of getting a start in financial media, there are obvious giants. You have your CNBCs and now your Cheddars, your Yahoo Finances of the world. But when it comes to how Benzinga made a name for itself, we were really one of the first ones to actively and excitedly cover emerging markets like cannabis, like financial technologies. FinTech has been something we've been covering and we've been hosting events in for 8-9 years. So those two pillars specifically, I think, are how we drew several million people to our site at first. So I think we had like 2 million visiting our site from like year 5 to like year 8.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that was sort of your bread and butter was the emerging markets, which makes a lot of sense. One of the things that you've done, which I feel like has put you in position to really have the pulse of the industry, is you have a couple podcasts. You do a daily podcast and then you do a bi-weekly podcast, which really helps you keep your finger on the pulse of the industry. If you were to talk to some of our listeners, where do you see some of the real opportunities in the cannabis sectors right now?
Depends on which listeners I'm talking to, right? But if I'm talking to overall someone looking from the outside into cannabis saying, hey, how can I jump in here? I think we always have people on that preach diversity. So if I'm looking at cannabis and I'm talking to somebody who is emphatically behind the MSOs of the space, and the MSOs, I'm sure your audience knows, multi-state operators, some consider to be the biggest growth opportunities for investments in the industry. But I'm also looking at those who are supporting the space. I'm intensely excited about the hydroponics side. And nothing I say is financial advice. This is just my personal opinion. And from the interviews we have as well, Agrify, just how they are diving into being a full-fledged partner to their companies. Who's competing against Akerna right now in the public market space? Looking at maybe international companies as well, like your Flora Growth and those developing CBD footprints in the U.S. plus international grows like Village Farms is now in Europe, and the Flower Corp is now in Portugal, and all these companies developing global footprints at the end of the day become a full-fledged investor benefiting from this space. That would be, honestly, in terms of opportunities, that's where I see it, but I don't think that's me discounting MSOs or the U.S. opportunity. Obviously, the U.S. is a market that has to be respected, and those leading the way in this space will be amazing companies. I just think there are so many different opportunities out there. They've held up the space so far. Last year was REITs that were really driving the way. Last month was U.S. operators. We've seen stocks like Akerna drive the way. So it seems to be different every 2 months.
I think that's part of the excitement, plus part of the frustration, is that it's really hard to put your finger on it. And I'm not surprised that you weren't super comfortable with that question, because I don't know that anybody really knows. If they did, they certainly wouldn't be sharing it. One of the things I do notice, though, is that a lot of our small family office listeners over the last year or so have been frustrated or complained to me that they're not seeing as many good seed stage deals. And then on the flip side, I'm hearing a lot of the seed stage companies are saying, I'm not getting in front of as many family offices I think I should based on the quality of my business. Why do you think that is?
The age-old question of capital flow in this industry it's a question that continues to change. But seed stage companies, I think you're seeing right now a stall point. And of course, you look at these new state markets where I think you could get really cool seed stage companies, maybe like a Missouri. I think you have a few companies there that could legitimately be players in the state and solid single state operators. And that's the benefit of these new state markets rolling out. But when you have new technology companies, we're not nearly done yet. I've, in the last 2 months, spoken to several coins for dispensaries for them to utilize. So we are far from being done in developing the technology side. I think right now we've been a very quick growing industry. Yeah. It's been a very fast pace to where we are now, and technology will come. It doesn't necessarily follow the pace of cannabis legalization. So for me, as these state markets roll out, it's exciting to see who steps up. But that being said, in the state markets that are interesting, you really have to be one of the top 5 single state operators to be an interesting M&A target for one of the MSOs. And if you're not, then the interest from investors tends to wane. I find, at least. What is the point of being the 6th best SSO at that point, investing in the 6th best SSO, I should say. So that would be my response to that. I think there will be seed stage companies come along, but it's A, for operators at the pace of opening state markets, and B, technology, it's dependent on more than just legalization.
I agree with what you're saying. I usually say to them that 5 or 6 years ago, everything was a seed stage company.
Yeah, amen to that. Verano wasn't even a thing 5 to 6 years ago. Now it's the 3rd, 4th biggest footprint in the U.S. It's pretty incredible how these companies have come onto the scene with a fiery passion.
Are you ready to lift off? Grow your cannabis brand at Canada's #1 cannabis conference and trade show. Don't miss your chance to connect with movers, shakers, and decision makers from across the cannabis industry at Lift & Co. Expo this May 12th through the 15th at Metro Toronto Convention Center. Booth packages and partnerships are available for cannabis businesses of all types and sizes. Level up your cannabis brand at Lift & Co. Expo, May 12th through the 15th in Toronto. Visit liftexpo.ca for more information. That's liftexpo.ca. Well, let's talk about your conference that's coming up in Miami on April 20th and 21st. Tell us a little bit about the Benzinga Cannabis Capital Conference.
Yeah, so this is something that Benzinga has been putting on since 2018. When I think of our events at Benzinga, obviously media first, that's the backbone of everything we do. But these events provide direct access, direct engagement from the companies to the audience, to the investors, to the entrepreneurs, service providers of the industry. And I think that's incredibly important for companies to be a part of. And when we first dove into the space, we partnered with the likes of companies like New Cannabis Ventures and Alan Brockstein at 420 Investor to really bring the who's who of the industry in at that time. once COVID hit, obviously we were able to keep going because we have a very large audience of individual investors. We're able to continue driving agendas and work with companies that we hadn't worked with to that point. So now we're seeing the benefit of both of those. We're driving agendas that 3 years ago I wouldn't have thought possible for Benzinga. So I'm super excited about that. Whether you like MSOs or not, whether you are against corporate cannabis or not, we're also supporting social equity. We are supporting several businesses that we want to give a platform to and provide them a spot to get in front of investors, get in front of potential partners, grow their visibility. We want to start supporting the industry from every side. And that is all under a financial umbrella of Benzinga, but it's investment oriented. It's M&A. Truly met Harvest Health at our event. Yeah, honestly, it's got a history of success in terms of who we bring. We do want to grow. We want everybody to come experience the event. So it's not like we are saying no to certain attendees, but we do bring the best of the best. Obviously, I'm biased as heck. Take it with a grain of salt. But I think if you just look at our lineup, benzinga-cannabis.com, it's impressive. And one major speaker I got to shout out is Carson Humiston. She'll be joining a panel for Vanks, really talking about how to use a raise. How do you go about using the funds from a raise in this space and really digging in and becoming a leader? She's talking with leaders in the industry from Cann, Luke Anderson from Cann and Work, a major HR and software platform. So we're touching on MSOs, we're touching on international. How do you have access to cannabis with weed maps? I could go on and on, man. I don't want to make this a giant advertisement for you, but I'm very happy and proud of where this event is.
I think you're onto something. I really do. I think the idea of a place where investors can just have a conversation with legitimate growing companies is so needed. It's so needed. Well, we'll have all of that information in our show notes. So if anybody's interested in registering and zipping down to Miami, it's a good time of year. Spend 420 in Miami. That's not a bad place to be on 420, right?
We'll try and make it worth your while, man. I do remember one of our attendees last time we were in Miami just happened to pull a giant Canagar out of his pocket. I'm not saying I partook in that. No admissions. But it was awesome. That being said, we have fun. Honestly, events are fun. Being on the beach is fun, and it's incredibly content driven for us. So educational updates from these companies. Where are we going to be at the end of 2022? We'll have the likes of Brady Cobb and legislative leaders talking as well. So I think overall, there's something for everybody. And it's not just our events. Y'all, it's we'll see you at MJ Biz. We'll see you guys at events around the country as well. I'll be at the Alternative Products Expo in a couple weeks. It's just making sure that we support the industry as an editorial, a financial news outlet, as well as providing access to these companies for the investors that listen to us.
That's awesome. You can also cuss Elliot just about every day. And
every weekday. I don't know what I did.
Yeah. He takes the weekends off, but on his podcast, and was it twice a month on
a week? So we do 2 interviews a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, live on our YouTube channel at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We just did Verano yesterday. We have Tommy Chong. We've interviewed Whitney Tilson. Tons of really cool people on there. Almost as cool as Dan Humiston's podcast. Not quite there yet. But Cannabis Daily is a 5-minute update every morning around 10 a.m. It'll come on. But we have a podcast galore. Crypto, cannabis, teas. benzinga.com/podcasts. If you guys are interested in learning about anything that has to do with investing, Benzinga has it for you.
That's good to know. And we're going to have Elliot back on the show again. So Elliot, a lot of fun. I'm glad to finally have you on the show. Look forward to having you on again.
Yeah, Dan, thank you so much, man. It's really nice to talk to you. And if you are going to come and see Cannabis Insider, I promise you Dan's going to be there at some point in the near future. Appreciate you, my friend.
How do cannabis CEOs balance growth and optimization strategies? What is THCO, Delta-10, and CBNA, and why should you care about these minor cannabinoids? And why isn't the endocannabinoid system covered in medical school? Most people think they're up to date in trends in the cannabis industry, but they're about 6 weeks behind. Learn about what is truly next in the cannabis space by joining myself, Brian Fields, and Kellen Finney every week on the Dime Podcast, and of course, on PodConx.